All right, guys, welcome back. I am really excited for today. So I found this person on Instagram. She popped up on like one of the adoption pages, and so I reached out to her and she said yes, which I'm super pumped for because I was just talking to her before and she said that she's never said yes to a podcast. So she must know ours is like extra dope. She's turned them down. So I'm super excited for that. So we have,
Awesome.
I know it's true. It's so true. We have Kayla on here. And then how do you say like your handle? Because I know you're on TikTok and I know you're on Instagram. Like, how do you say your
It's Kayla and Jen. So
okay,
it's my name and my
perfect.
wife's name kind of put together.
Perfect. Perfect. No, I love that. So you guys can find her there, but I will go ahead. I'm excited. I told her, I'm like, don't tell me anything about your adoption story. So then me and Delancey can hear it together. So like, I've only seen bits and pieces, but I'm super excited because her one reel that really drew me in is like how much she is like so grateful for it. And so that's why I knew I had to reach out to her for it and get her on our podcast. So Kayla, I will go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Okay. So I guess let's start at the beginning. So my parents, I mean it's an interracial adoption. So they actually got married back in the 70s, and had two kids. And then my mom wasn't able to have any more kids after that. Um, and so they decided to adopt, which was kind of a big thing for the family because they were adopting children outside of their race. And this was also in the 70s. So it was very different. So they adopted my older sister, two older sisters, um, and then they were done for about 13 years. And for some reason, in the 90s, they decided to adopt again, and that's where I came in. And of course, they couldn't stop there because who wants to grow up by themselves? They adopted my younger brother. So altogether, there are four adopted children and two biological children. And it ranges from, they were born in the 70s all the way to 1995. So there's quite a big age gap um, between us all, actually. Um, but one thing I really like about my story is that my parents, they they educated themselves on culture and stuff like that. So they were very into taking us to Black history museums and learning about stuff like that. And one of the best stories that I've heard was that my mom, um, she marched with Dr. Martin Luther King back in college. So my mom's kind of
How
old now, but
cool.
that's kind of the cool stories. So they were very active. I would kind of say they were kind of hippies, but it is what it is. Um, but yeah, so it was it was never really a thing for me to feel any different than the biological children in the family. And I think that, like, I'm super happy that that was the situation, because I've heard horror stories and everything like that. But and then I've also gotten the question of, like, when did you know you were adopted? But I mean, as a Black child with two white parents, you always knew that there was something off. Like they didn't come from them. So, it was just something that, like, you know, we they were very open about, and they never tried to hide it. Um, and I mean, I was adopted at uh, it was 6 months old. I was placed with them at 6 weeks, so I was an infant. Um, and my brother, he was placed at 2 days old. They got a phone call. There's actually a really cool picture, because he is 5 years and one day younger than me. So he came
Crazy.
home, and I thought he was my birthday present. And there's this
Oh,
picture of me holding him, and I'm just smiling really
so
big.
cute.
And he just looks so unhappy, because I'm holding him, but I'm only 5 years old. But, like, I'm trying to keep him in my arms, and it was just, yeah. I mean, I just I just love the fact that even now our family is so like open about the adoption, and they're like, it's a strong sense of family, not, it's not just like, oh, they took us in and they raised us and now we're off on our own. It's no, it's very much, we're very close.
I
So
love that. No,
yeah.
I love that so much. Clancy, do you have a question?
I do, because I have a big age gap between me and my older sisters.
Mm.
So would you say you and your little brother are closer, or would you say all of you, the siblings, are close, or do you have like, is it like different relations? Because like for me, it's a different relationship thing with each of them, because they kind of played a different little role in my life, but we're all still close, if that makes sense. So I was
Yeah,
curious
yeah.
on yours.
I mean, I would have to agree. That's kind of how it is, because it's
Mhm.
kind of like I was the older one, and he like it was just
Mhm.
us two. Because by the time I was, like 9, 10 years old, my older siblings were out of the house. So
Mhm.
yeah, but I mean, we still, hung out, and they were still always there for us, and very close in a different way, I guess.
Would you say you were their dry run for parenthood? Because I say I was my sister's dry run for motherhood.
Oh, for
And
sure, for
I
sure.
tell them you're welcome all the time.
Yes. And I
They're
think I did
amazing
a good
mothers.
job, because I became an
Right.
aunt at 8 years old. So
See, there you go.
that's what it
There you go.
was.
I love
They're
that so
great
much.
parents because of you.
Exactly. That's 100% accurate. That is why.
That's no, that's awesome. Um, okay. Like I should have prefaced before. If there's any questions you're not comfortable answering, just say no, like next, please. But have
Yeah,
you
yeah.
had
You can tell us about our business. That's totally
yeah.
No,
fine.
that's
But
fine.
Have you like wanted to or had any interest or do have any contact with birth family?
that's a good one.
I did find my birth family. And that was a crazy story in itself. I had posted something on Facebook when I was 26. So I'm 32 now. But I had said I wanted to find my biological parents by my birthday. And it was like the end of March, and my birthday is in April. And the post got shared like 10,000 times, and it got to them. And they were 45 minutes from me.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's
It was,
crazy.
yeah,
Wow.
that was
That's
one of
like
my
crazy
first things
close.
on, like, it was my personal Facebook, but yeah, it was one of those things. And then they had reached out, and I had kind of talked about some of the information that I had. Um, and they were like, this is insane. And then I met my biological mom first. And I met my aunt first. And then from there, everybody wanted to meet me.
Yeah.
Which was, it was a little overwhelming at first, because
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
there are 8 kids altogether. So yeah, there was a lot of people to meet.
Are you the only one that was placed for adoption?
I am the only
Me
one.
too. And there's 7 siblings in my family. That's
I was
crazy.
literally about to say with a follow-up, is it all right to ask where you are in that birth
I
order?
I am the 6th child, and then there were 2 after me.
Okay.
Can I ask this? Did any of them know about you? Sorry, Delancey.
Oh no, I was
None,
gonna say that was close to you, but continue. Yeah, I want to know this too.
no, none of them knew about me. If I remember correctly, uh, none of the children knew about me. The aunt knew, but it wasn't until, like, she said it would have been around my 16th birthday, because she couldn't hold the secret in anymore. So it was her, my biological father, and my biological grandmother, and her sister that knew. Nobody else knew.
Wow.
But it was a hidden pregnancy because she didn't know if like they would make her keep me or not. Because I
Okay.
mean, she was very young, and I mean, it's understandable with being child number 6.
Right. No, for
Right.
sure. Oh, go ahead. You have, I can tell you had
No,
questions too.
I was gonna say, I mean, I was a hidden pregnancy too, until it was like the too late factor, because mine was back in the 80s, so there was a different time frame back then. But I was a hidden pregnancy too, so I get that. You said biological grandmother. Was that biological grandmother on biological mom's side or biological
Yes.
dad's side? Biological mom's side. Okay.
Yes. I'm not sure Dad's side knew about me before the reunion.
Wow.
So
Did you
Okay.
meet that side too?
I did.
Oh, that
So
was very
another thing
overwhelming.
is all of my siblings from my biological mom were all full-blooded siblings, all have the same father. Yes.
And like all of you guys do, even you?
Yes. Same
Wow.
mother, same father.
Are they still together? Can I ask that?
They are together.
Wow. Can
Oh,
Okay, can I ask you this? This might be like a
sweet.
tougher question. How does that make you feel? Like, how did that make you feel when you first found out? Like, did you have complex feelings? Like, I don't know why I did that.
I think when I first found out, I kind of wondered why
Mhm.
um was it did you decide to put me up for adoption? But she was open about the process. Um, but it was more like it was through Catholic Charities. And uh, she was approached because she was 22, and she was on child number 6, and they were like, let's let this child um, you know grow up in a different environment. Um, so I think the best thing would be to put the child up for adoption.
Wow.
And it was a tough decision. Um, and she went through with it. And then she started talking about how once I was born, um, she felt a lot of guilt about giving up her child for adoption, and almost wanted like a replacement child, because she was like, I just gave my child away. But then, the next one happened to be a boy, and she was like, I gave away, like, it was a girl. And
Yeah.
then she had one more, and it was a girl, and then she was done. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
No, I get those feelings because I was the exact
Mhm.
same way because I'm one of 7 that was placed. But I also like how are things, have sets of parents met at all? Like your parents and then your biological parents?
I I don't know. I feel like there was a time where then they were in the same. Yeah, it was a birth. Oh, my wife was in there. It's a birthday party. I think they were there for like a little bit, but it was very awkward. Very
Oh,
awkward for them.
really?
Yeah,
For your parents, or for the biologicals, or both?
for the
Which one?
biological parents.
Yeah.
Oh,
How were your parents towards them?
My parents were very like excited. They wanted to
That's
meet
awesome.
them and to just kind of, you know, get to know
Yeah.
them and stuff like that. But they were the other side is very very private
That
about
makes sense.
that. Um,
Yeah.
and I think there were some feelings of um, being robbed of raising a child because of the
Makes
regret
sense.
of after
Right.
she gave me up.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
mhm.
yeah.
No, that makes sense. Oh, you ask.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to think of a way to, how is that everything now after it's been a few years? Because I mean, after like a few years, and things process, and you grow and stuff, and and relationships can change and they evolve, they adapt, things like that. How is the relationships now between you and your biological family and like your parents and the bio, like is, I don't know how else to
Well,
ask that, but like how does that look
no.
That's
now?
good. That's good.
So the relationship between me and my biological family, it's not the same as it was. Like it was a lot of, they wanted me like to get to know me and wanted me to go to all their holidays, dinners and birthday parties and stuff.
Mhm.
And I found myself being really overwhelmed by it.
Mhm.
Um, and I also like, one of the things that I didn't realize was the um, difference in belief systems. So when you're raised in a different household and you're allowed to, you're thinking this way or you believe this way, and then you go to the other side and they're like, well, we don't think that's not okay or blah blah blah. And I'm just like, but like, I don't know. It was almost like they wanted me to be somebody that I couldn't be because I've already grown up and I've already got the way I perceive the world.
Yeah.
And I did try to kind of fit in, but I don't think it was obvious to them, but it's very obvious to me that I did not fit with what or who they thought I should be.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
it's not terrible. Like we still talk.
Yeah.
And I've been asked to come over still. Um, but there's just differences there that it's more of something I have to process than
Mhm.
them, because when you're going over there and you're like, well, I have to hear the opposite of what I've been doing my entire life, or they're doing something that
Mhm.
really triggers me and I have to put it aside because they're totally different than who I am. Um,
Mhm.
it's just a lot sometimes, and yeah, it's difficult.
I I love that you've put that boundary there though, for yourself, for your
Mhm.
mental health, to realize
Mhm.
you shouldn't have to change who you are
Mhm.
to, because I mean, it's completely
To
different
fit
dynamics.
in, like,
Yeah.
Yes.
and I do this in air quotes because like fitting in is such like a
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with Melena. That's the reason I was curious, because I know Melena and I have had conversations offline and stuff about like after so many years, just you start to see things a little like the novelty. I
Yeah.
don't know when I'm going to put that. The novelty wears off. The honeymoon phase
Yes.
wears off. It's kind of like any
Yes.
Yeah.
relationship.
Hmm.
Any relationship, like the honeymoon phase ends, and you start to see, whereas things you may have like overlooked before, just
Yes.
because it's all so new, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so like, this
Yeah.
is just it's so great, and then you start to know stuff that it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a
Yes.
minute.
I agree with that
It's
100%.
like
Yes.
boundaries. So yeah, no, I applaud you for that, because a lot of people won't do that. They'll just
Yeah.
suffer in silence.
And
Correct.
that's not something
No,
Mm-mm.
you want to do.
It's not
Another thing
helpful.
that
no.
I struggled with was, you know, calling them by their first names or calling them mom and dad. But then you're like, no, I have a mom and dad, they were the ones that raised me, that were,
Yes.
and I didn't want to be offensive
Yes.
to them.
Right.
Like I didn't want to offend them, but like I've always wanted to be like, thank you, like you gave me life, and
Mhm.
I
Right.
forever
Exactly.
care and appreciate that. But like the ones that are mom and dad are the ones that were,
Mm-hmm. The ones that raised you.
exactly.
Can I ask, did they ask you to call them mom and dad, or were you just like,
They kind of refer to themselves as mom and dad.
oh, okay.
So I don't know. And then it's kind of weird to hear, your biological siblings talk about your biological
Yeah.
parents, and they're
Mm-hmm.
referring to them, and you're just like, okay. Um,
It's true.
Yeah,
It's so true.
yeah,
It's
I've been there. It's
yeah.
like my bio dad's grand my bio dad's parents, my biological grandparents on his side. He passed away back in '86. Neither here nor there, but when I talked to them on the phone, they were like, no, I would call them by their first names.
Mhm.
And they're like, no, you will call us grandma and grandpa. Like they were forceful about it. And I just find I try to be nice because I'm like, I was raised in the South. I'm a Southerner. Like you're polite, you respect your elders. Like that is what you do. Like you are just nice. And it got to the point where I was like, listen, I'm not calling you grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
Like that's not happening. I'm not comfortable with that. Like I had grandparents and like respectfully, they're not you. Like
Yeah.
it got to that point, and it's one of those. So like I understand what you mean, and like it's so uncomfy. So for anyone that's listening, don't do that. It makes adoptees feel uncomfortable. Don't do
It's
that.
true. It's so
It makes
true
us
though.
so
It does put us in an
uncomfortable.
awkward position that
Yes.
not
So
everybody can maneuver through.
exactly. How do you feel overall about adoption? Because from like the little glimpse that I saw of you and your story that you shared, like with your, yeah. So go ahead and go into that a little bit more for me.
So the whole point of that video, that happened one day when I was scrolling through TikTok. And I ended up getting stuck on adoption TikTok. And I realized that adoption TikTok is just, it felt like a lot of trauma bonding.
Evil.
Like, and I don't know how to say it and not sound bad. Like I feel for them. I truly do, because there are some
Yeah.
really bad stories.
Yes.
But I don't think that everybody's story is like that. And that's kind of what they portray. But also, what I also realized when I posted that was when, especially not so much on Instagram, but on TikTok, um, I was attacked quite a bit, saying that I was invalidating other adoptees by posting my story. And that one kind of frustrated me because my story is my story, first of all. But also, um, in my mind, it doesn't matter what the situation is. I always feel like the people that are always the loudest are the ones that are mad about something. But like you don't hear about the good times. So you have people that are actually trying to do the right thing, or you know aren't trying to be malicious or anything like that, and genuinely want to adopt a child because of infertility or other reasons.
Yeah.
And they're scared because
Right.
they're like, well, I don't want to adopt anybody outside of my own race because I'll be seen as this, or I don't want to adopt at all because they're telling me all adoption is trauma. And I mean, there I just there's yeah. So I just wanted to let my followers and people know that there are some good stories. There are some happy endings. They're not all terrible. But that's what gets pushed,
Yes.
because drama sells, especially you learn that as a content creator. Something that gets emotions going is stuff that's going to be pushed out.
Yeah.
So you see all the negativity, and not so much the positivity.
Right.
And then you see families that are just minding their business on TikTok or Instagram being completely attacked
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that it truly bothers me because I know how it was growing up with me, and I know my parents' hearts, and I know my siblings, and they never said like, this is my biological child, this is my adopted child. Not that they couldn't tell, because the four of us were Black and they were white, but they were just like, these are my children. And it was everybody stuck up for everybody, you know. And
Love
I
that.
just feel like more people should know that it's not all terrible.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
I
gonna start
love it.
following you on TikTok.
I know.
When I
I was
get
gonna
back on
say.
TikTok. When I get back on TikTok.
I was gonna
I
say, Delaney.
also adopted my sons. So
Yes, she did.
I adopted my wife's children. I have a son, and he is Caucasian, and I have a biracial son. So I have two that I've adopted. So yeah, I am definitely for adoption.
I love it.
Yes.
No. And this is why I wanted you on, because as soon as I saw that, I was like, it caught my eye, because me and Delancey, like we both love it so much. We both know that there's really hard craft of stories. Everybody has it, but it's how you choose to like, I feel like you're a lot like us, to where it's like, we are so grateful for it and we love our mom and dad and we can have those relationship with our biological parents, but we can also set those hard boundaries because we love it and we appreciate adoption and our parents. And so this was like, when I found you, I was like, Delancey, look at her. Like, cause I was just so excited.
And it's one of those like immediate responses of like, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's just like you said, it's like everybody has crap happen to them. Like it's how you choose to take the plot twist to write the rest of your story. Like, why are you? I'm the same way you are on TikTok. That's the reason why when like our church was like 21 days of prayer, we're going to give up. I'm like, TikTok, my gosh, TikTok. I'm so like, it's taking over my life because I will get sucked in for hours watching funny videos because I'm an idiot and I'll sit there and laugh. And then I'll come across adoption TikTok every once in a while, it pops up. And like, I've avoided a good bit of it, but like their lives will pop up like when they go live and they will like, it'll be like 6 of them in a room and they're just all and hemming and hawing. And it's just like, and when you go in the comment section, like I told Melina this, I went into one time and I was like, I said, please don't speak for all adoptees. You're making blanket statements and that's very dangerous. Like, you can't speak for me. My story isn't like that. And they said, you can't invalidate us. We're muting you. And they muted me. And I was like,
they're like that though.
Yeah. It's like, so when it comes down to, it's your children. They're children.
Yeah. And it's almost like they go out of their way to silence anybody that had any sort of positive experience because it's not letting their narrative like
it destroys their narrative. It completely destroys their narrative. And they're like, and they hide behind all those like buzzwords of I have trauma. I have trauma. I have such trauma. And then somebody goes, well, what was so like there's one guy in specific that I cannot think of what his name is, but he always gets on there and he will do like, will say like, I'm doing the live. And if you're not watching the YouTube video, you need to, because it's about to be really great. He goes, I already asked and answered that about the adoption agency and why I'm anti-adoption industry. And that's just ridiculous. Yeah, my adoption's fine. My parents and I get along fine, but I'm still anti-adoption industry. Excuse me, I've already answered that question like 5 times. You need to pay attention. And it's just like, but you're not giving any information. Like you're just spewing ickiness and hate and you could say, this is why mine was difficult. And I think we should change it to make it to where things like this don't happen again.
And that's a conversation I would be open to having with them. Like, hey, like, I feel like I listen more if like, it depends on how you bring it to me. If you're going to come bring it to me and you're going to like not be open to anything I have to say, or you've already like made your decision, there's no point in me trying to talk to you. So I just kind of either I just keep scrolling or I just stop talking. But I've had people follow me from TikTok to Instagram, even to YouTube, just trying to I don't know. I think they're attempting to hurt my feelings or something, but it's just like, sometimes you just have to be like, I'm a stronger person than that. Like, this isn't going to hurt my feelings, but you are putting in way too much effort to try to upset me. So yeah, usually if you've ever read any of my comments, the ones that irritate me, like my go-to thing is, okay, but be blessed though. Like, I just don't even know what to say. Just be blessed.
Oh, you say that?
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
Oh, I love that. Okay, be blessed. Carry on.
Be blessed. Hashtag be blessed. I'm gonna start doing that now. Hashtag be blessed. That's it.
Oh, I love that. No,
Yeah,
that's so true. And every time you think of Kayla, be blessed. Okay, be blessed.
Be blessed.
Be blessed.
Kayla says be blessed. And they're gonna be like, who is Kayla? And it's gonna be like, she's my friend. Get over it. She says be blessed. And I support that decision. For me, that's like, I know Melina's had people be nasty to her on Instagram. I've had people be like, nasty on TikTok. It's getting to the point where it's like, honey, I'm the youngest of 4 girls.
Like, you can't hurt my feelings.
You can't hurt my feelings. There is nothing you can say to me.
I would have to
That
say,
come
being on
on.
social media the last year and a half has toughened me up. At first, I used to be like, oh my word, like I hurt my feelings so bad. But now I'm just kind of like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
can't
they
make
would
anybody
never say
happy.
it to you.
They,
They
no.
never say it to you. They would never come up and say it to you, but they
It's
can.
true.
And it's always like on TikTok, it's always user with a bunch of numbers behind it with no picture.
And no content.
Exactly.
It's always the
Really?
ones with no
That's who it
content.
is.
That's crazy.
So
Always.
they're hiding behind something, but they would never
Mhm.
come up to me and say it.
Mm-mm.
So
I think it's quite humorous at some points. Like my favorite is when they misspell words, and my only response is correcting the words they've misspelled.
yes,
Thank
that
you.
is
Coming
funny.
in. I
Be
love that.
blessed.
Be blessed.
Well, and my favorite thing too is like, Kayla, your content is so positive and so funny. And I
Mhm.
love how you just like right now it's a lot with your teenage son. Like, and
Yeah.
that's my favorite. It's just like all the different things that happen with him. But you guys just keep us so happy and like lighthearted and upbeat and funny and like, and then just like people to come and I just don't understand people why they just feel the need to just crap
I
on
realize
everybody.
you just can't make everybody happy.
It's
There's
true.
always going to be somebody that's not happy.
It's so true. It's so true.
That's 100% facts. You can make probably about 80% of human beings happy, and the other 20 are just miserable.
It's true.
And those are the ones you tell to go be blessed.
Be blessed.
I think I'm gonna use my Cricut and make a shirt that says Kayla says be blessed.
I love
Hashtag,
that.
I love
Merch
it.
coming
No,
soon.
What he said? My wife said she wants a shirt too.
Her wife wants a shirt.
I will work on that. I like I'm being serious. I love making shirts with quotes on them, and I think that would be like a shirt that says that would be hilarious. So
No, I love that. That's
awesome. Project.
Yeah, sweet. I love it. I'm trying to think. Do you have any other questions for her that you can think of, like off the top of your head, or? Oh, she's writing. I think she's writing down your quote.
I'm writing down make a shirt.
That's awesome.
I love it so much.
Literally writing it on because I wrote down your TikTok handle so that when it's in February and I'm going back on TikTok, maybe. I'm actually gonna write it's gonna say at Kayla and Jen on TikTok says be blessed. And then people are gonna be like, who? What? And I'll be like,
go follow
her on TikTok. Duh.
Go follow.
I was about to ask your usual follow-up question, but you can ask it because I really don't have
do
any,
it.
like the questions I wanted to ask because like I heard like I just felt so many similarities like between your story and like what you went through and like with meeting and overwhelming and like never feeling different. And even though like you may look a little like you look different, but you don't feel different. Like you always feel like I just felt like your story resonated so much with me, especially with the whole entire of like creating a boundary because I'm going through that right now with creating a boundary because the honeymoon phase does go away. And at some point in time, you have to do what's right for you. Because as much as other human beings may feel, I don't want to say entitled, I don't want to say owed because those are just like icky words to use in this scenario, but it's almost like making up for lost time, I guess.
Yeah.
If that's a way, is that how you would?
Yeah, I would say that, especially with being, like they're like, oh, you got to come over for Thanksgiving and Christmas and all this other stuff. Like they want you for the holidays.
Right. And that's such a thing to navigate too.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
That's hard. And see, I can't really empathize with that because I'm international. And so they're
I
clear
was
in
about to
Colombia.
say.
So that kind of stuff, it's kind of like, come for Christmas. Oh, no, I know I'm good. I'm cleared like thousands and hundreds of thousands miles away.
I was about to make a really probably poorly received joke by our listeners and go, yeah, this is what happens in America with adoptions.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you think about it, like when you're within the same country, it no matter how many hours or states, I mean, I couldn't imagine 45 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say 45 minutes.
Like that. that would be like, here's a good question. Do you ever have that feeling of, even if nobody is like directing it to you, ever have like that feeling of like a little bit of pressure whenever you feel like they may ask you to come visit, and like you don't really know how to say no without hurting someone's does that make sense? Does that make sense how I asked
That makes 100% sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And you don't know how to answer it, because sometimes it might just be like, I don't want to, or you're busy or something else. But yeah, there's pressure there because you don't want to let anybody down. You don't want to hurt feelings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's me personally. Like, some people would be like, well, I just don't want to go. But me, I'm like, how do you, I guess the way I do it is I don't give a exact date. Like, I'll do like, oh, see you soon. And then we go from there.
I love that.
That's good.
So that way I'm not committing to, hey,
Right.
I need to be there Sunday at
Right.
3:00. And
Right.
yeah.
That way you're not setting yourself up for something. Yeah.
Right.
What's it like being those people that don't have emotions like that? Like,
I have no clue.
what's that like? Because I have no idea.
I wish I knew.
Me neither. Me either.
It gives me anxiety when people ask me like,
yes.
do you want to go get lunch this week? And I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I
Anxiety,
do.
like when I commit to stuff with even friends, and then like the day comes and I'm like,
You're
oh
like,
man, I don't want to do that. I wish I wouldn't have committed. Like that was me 2 days ago. This is not me now.
right.
Or I blame it on my wife.
I blame it on my wife.
I was like, yeah. Or I'll be like, the
Listen.
kids are sick or something, and just like, then they see
I
me
blew
live on
off a New
TikTok
Year's
or
Eve
something,
party.
and they're like, oh man, just
I
stuck.
blew off a New Year's Eve party and said said I had to stay home with my dog. In fairness, I kind of did, because she she wasn't okay. But I definitely used that to my advantage. Like, she probably would not have noticed if I wasn't there. Like, she was on pain medication, so she would have never noticed me not being there. However, I was like, I'd stay here with her.
I feel that.
She needs me. Yeah.
She needs me. And they were, and they know how crazy I am about my dog, and they're like, okay, we get that.
Yeah, that was
We
your path.
understand. It's like, but yeah, no, I felt when you said that was me 2 days ago, that's not me today. I feel that.
Yes.
So yeah, that's something I was really curious about, though, is if you felt that, like, and if and the follow-up was going to be, if you feel that pressure, do you think it's more from you, or do you think it's more like them insinuating the pressure? But I have a feeling that you're a lot like me and Milena are, where we don't want to let anybody down.
Yeah,
so we kind of do it to ourselves.
And especially like when you're face to face and you're like looking at them, and you're like, you don't know what to say. You know what you're saying on the inside, but like your brain's like, that's not what needs to come out of your mouth. And then you're hoping that your face doesn't give it away, because my face always, like, my mom always has told me since I was a child that my face needed deliverance, because whenever I see something or whatever, like, it's all on my face.
Your face does subtitles too.
Yeah. So yeah, I try so hard to just be like, yeah, soon, never.
I was gonna say, if you like raise your eyebrows a little bit as they're about to ask, like, raise them, and you just be like, oh, okay, instead of being like, oh, like, I don't.
Yes.
Just raise them and be like, you know what? Soon sounds really good. I'll get back with you. It sounds good.
Yes.
Gotta go.
I agree with that.
Okay.
That was my final question.
No, I love that. So there's probably more than one that I want to ask you, because we kind of like to ask like ending questions of like what advice you would give. So my first one would be, just because I feel like you did have like stellar parents, what advice would you give to, well, and you're one of them, like adoptive parents, what advice would you give to people who are looking to adopt?
Ooh, that's a good question. I just be open with your kids. Don't get offended if they ask questions.
That's a good one.
Like I remember asking questions. And of course, when I was adopted, a lot of them were closed adoptions in the 90s. So they didn't have a lot of information. And my younger brother, kind of going off script here, my younger brother, his adoption, his biological mom would write letters. So I used to get a little bit jealous because she would get
Yeah, I
letters,
see
but
that.
and I wouldn't. But
Yeah.
they were open. And my mom would
That's
write
awesome.
back.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
I mean, that was one of those things that like they knew that they were raising these kids, and they thought it was important for them to know their history, you know.
Mhm.
Love that.
So just be open with your kids, and don't treat them any different than if you do have biological children as well. Don't treat them any different, because they'll notice. They will
Oh, yeah.
notice. So
For sure.
Yeah.
Did
I actually have a follow-up question that has
Yeah,
nothing
no,
to
go
do
for
with
it.
the ending questions, but when she said like as like be open, because when you were asking questions about yours, what is the most bizarre piece of information that your parents gave you about your adoption?
That's a good question.
Like just like off the wall, like stuff that you just look at them and go, what? Like,
that my adoption paperwork that they gave, well, when it asks questions, is something, but my father was from Wisconsin, which was, but when I met her, I found out that she had run away to Wisconsin, and my father had went after her in Wisconsin, and that is where I became a thing in Wisconsin. So
I became a thing.
I became a thing.
yeah, in Wisconsin. So that was weird to me. Like
Yeah.
it was like the
Like
paper
you're
was a
told
little
he's
bit
from
off.
Wisconsin, but like kind of technically you are a little bit.
Yeah, like I was conceived in,
You were created.
Wisconsin. My father was not from Wisconsin. He ran after my mother, who ran to Wisconsin. That was
That's so
weird information, I guess, as a child.
so true. Anything else on that, Delancey? And then I'll ask one last final one. Okay, no, you're good.
I just had to ask that.
I think that's good. That's a really good question. So for adoptees, what advice would you give them in seeking out birth families? Because like all three of us have found ours, but what's a piece of advice if they want to seek out their birth families?
If you want to, that's a more complex. I thought that first one was hard.
Like, geez, thanks.
The question, what was the question? The question is the advice to adoptees.
Use Facebook, because all three of
Yeah,
us use Facebook.
Yeah,
what
it's
was it?
true.
But also for your own mental health, don't set your hopes too high sometimes, because I did find my biological parents. My little brother found his, but there are so many other people that they find them, and they still, it's not the happy, they want to get to
Yes.
know me, stuff like that. And I think
Yeah.
if that would have happened to me, especially during the time where I decided like I wanted to find them, that would have impacted me in a terrible way. I think I would have had some messed up feelings from that.
Yes.
So, I mean, I always kind of think of, hope for the best, don't expect it
Prepare for the
though.
worst. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to, go for it. I know that there's new things that are coming out that are making it easier for adoptees to find their biological parents. I know that there's been some crazy stories of people finding them on ancestry.com or something like that too, by doing the swabs. But like, yeah,
23andMe too.
you just have to, before you start your journey, be mentally prepared for what's going to happen either way. That way, because if you're, I just feel like picking up the pieces would just be, hard.
That's really good. That's really good. I love that. Delancey, anything else after she gave her last little bit?
I was saying, no, man, that was a mic drop right there, because
I
that's
know,
perfect.
that's good.
I mean, because
Awesome.
it's true, and they need to hear that. People need to realize, like exactly what she said, like hope for the best, but be prepared for whatever is going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Which can be hard. I love that. I love that. No,
Mic drop.
perfect. Kayla, any other last words that you want to say?
No, I enjoyed being on your podcast for my first podcast.
So glad you said yes. I'm so
I
glad
know.
you
I'm
said
so
yes.
glad you said yes too. I was like, I'm gonna
This was
try
so
it. And she's
good.
like, yeah, I know. It was really good. So really, thank you for doing
You're
this.
welcome.
Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for taking some time out of your night because I know you're a lot later than both of us. So I was like, I don't want to run this. Yeah, we won't say where because we'll keep where people are from quiet. But like we can talk about it once I hit stop, Lindsay.
Yeah, I was about to say hit
Well, that's
stop. Would you
fine.
hit stop? I have questions. Hit stop.
Anyway, but thank you. Oh, Kayla, am I okay to like tag you in our show notes so people can find
Yeah,
you like
that's
on
fine.
Instagram and TikTok? Okay,
For
perfect. So
sure.
I'll go ahead and tag her there and you can see her like her family's just so fun and so cute. So you're gonna have to go check it out. I just love, she just brings a lot of positivity and light, which is like my favorite, which is what we need to see because
Thank
the
you.
world can be so nasty right now. Anyway,
Mhm.
all right. Thank you again, Kayla, so much for coming on and joining us. And we appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.